Thank you very much, Dr. Nandini. A wonderful good afternoon to everybody. Thanks for taking your time to attend this very interesting podium discussion, properly managed. It's very difficult where to start. I mean, when we read the headline of today's session, the German approach, and I'm very proud about one approach in particular, and this has been mentioned a couple of times, and this is our dualistic vocational training. Let me extend this term slightly. I do not want to only mention that we are doing a professional skill development in the vocational area only. I mean, in some states of Germany, we also do a professional university-level dualistic approach. And this is what our company is also professionally supporting. Vice versa. Vice versa is, yes, we develop our students professionally in the vocational level, but also in the university level. There's a dualistic university model. When I say vice versa, that means we are also giving our employees time to be trainers at the vocational schools, likewise, at universities. So when I studied, some of the courses were actually taught by 80% of a university staff. So only 20% of the courses were taught by university professors. 80% were covered by people working in the industry. And this is how the German approach will work. And I'm very happy that you mentioned that, yes, India is very keen to follow and to really continue to try to implement this path. And in addition to what Professor Tenakis had said, we also need one major change, and this is a mindset change. It should be aspirational, mainly for parents, to also be supportive if a child will choose a vocational career path. It may not be the end. I mean, in Germany, we have always a lot of different career paths. You can start with the vocational level. Later on, you can still go for a higher education degree as a part-time degree, working and still doing your higher degree. And that's the support of the companies that we also need to see around the globe. Luckily, German companies have understood this since even more than 100 years already, that without the proper support, they can't get the qualified workforce they are aiming for. German companies also understood that it may be too time-consuming, that the time span might be too wide in order to wait that the government is coming up with the right measures. And this is why the companies are still happy to support this. We can call it the largest PPP scheme that we have. Government is giving the guidelines by the federal institutes. Companies are giving input in terms of curricular contents. And now, because we are in the midst of a change, I mean, companies are also adding up futuristic modules which are required to match the requirements that companies have. The other challenge that we are having at the moment is, I just give you some key figures. Within the next 18 months, we have 3 million people in Germany retiring. At the same time, we have roughly 50,000 students in Germany who cannot finish their educational program. During the years of pandemic, this number has doubled. So we have a certain mismatch that needs to be addressed immediately. On the one hand side, we have demand for workforce because 3 million are retiring. At the same time, we have at the moment around 100,000 at least, who have no graduation, who have no certification in hand in place, so there's a mismatch. Employment opportunities are given, however, the current situation is that the demand is huger than actually what the market can provide. So this has to be addressed immediately. Companies are definitely looking into this as well. And we are also transforming this to also all countries where we are literally having production sites. May it be here in India where we run our own vocational program, or may it be China, may it be some European countries and US, because we are still very focused on this vocational education and also, of course, the dualistic vocational and dualistic university model approach. This is how we get our internal new intake. On the other hand side, what we are not covering yet today is that we also need to address the existing workforce. Dr. Katri mentioned, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, nowadays in the age of 65, you are not old. I mean, that means 65 may not mean that it's a retirement age. I mean, in Germany, the retirement level has been pushed to 67. When I look internally at Festo, and this is also a big challenge for us, we have a huge amount of workforce who, let's say, who are entering their final working decade for our company. And here we need to address a very unique, specific age group that did not grow up in a digital environment. So we need to address a capability shift for an existing workforce. We call this capability shift. I mean, people in shop floor, of course, they would still need 60–70% of the basic skills to do maintenance, to do repair. But of course now, a lot of digital topics are upcoming: preventive maintenance, mobile maintenance, you name it. And this is a capability shift that we are doing internally. We are addressing the same, of course, already for the new intake in terms of our own dualistic vocational programs, so that the graduates are ready to match into the existing needs and development. So while looking at the dualistic vocational model, I think we definitely need to address the existing workforce as well. Globally, we are in need of addressing this aging workforce, and we are in need of constant change. So change management, capability shift is something that the educational sector has to take up as well. And last but not least, and I think this is a very important, if not the most important factor in the whole ecosystem of education, this is the trainers and the teachers. Germany has set up a 12-point plan for digitalization, which is very challenging. And I think here Germany and India are quite similar. I mean, we have different state governments, we have central regulations, we have state regulations, and to match this is almost impossible. At the same time, in Germany, we have roughly 800,000 to maybe 1 million teachers who also need to be retrained to handle these new, not only the new technologies, also a new didactical approach. I mean, it doesn't make sense to literally transform a lesson, a face-to-face lesson, one-to-one into digital. That doesn't work. We also need to understand, and Germany might be a little bit more challenging compared to India, that there is a personal data protection law in place. There is no system yet that guarantees, okay, that is how it works in terms of contents, in terms of learning, but also in terms of credits, marks, and this is then according also to the data protection right. So it's a very challenging situation, but a very critical factor, and this is as critical as changing the system, is definitely to really focus again, retrain the teachers, requalify the teachers. Also for the teachers, a capability shift needs to take place in order to meet the demand for this rapid changing time.